Today we have a mega altcoin update that we're going to be talking about, just the state of crypto generally and the altcoins that we love to track on this channel, because we are seeing finally some hopefully good news coming through in the macro market, which could have major implications for altcoin season and just altcoins in general. So we're going to be talking about all of it. Starting out, we're going to be talking about what we're seeing from the charts. Now, of course, the charts over the past week or so have been slightly precarious, a little bit scary, but we are starting to see some fundamental and technical indicators that could mean altcoin season is coming closely. Now, of course, yesterday we did get news from the US government that they are looking at ending the shutdown. We can see here that President Trump and the Senate agreed to reopen the government. Now, of course, this does still need to go through the House, but the House has not been kind of the limiting factor here. It has been the Senate. So I do think that there is a general overall expectation that we will be seeing the government open, the US government open at the end or by the end of the week, I guess, and which is why we are seeing Bitcoin actually make a really nice move. Bitcoin really moved up quite dramatically yesterday. It did actually close above the 50-week EMA, which has been kind of the major level to indicate kind of the bull market staying intact. So theoretically, the bull market is still here by, again, conventional metrics that we've used in the past. This time could be different, yada, all that type of stuff. But what we are seeing is a lot of different things like that. We also can see that Bitcoin dominance has closed another weekly candle below the 50 EMA level, which is, again, good sign for alts and indicating that we could see maybe a break into alt season. Now, you will see there was a major wick up indicating that we could have seen this break again, but it continues to hold below. So if we see this continue to move back down, this is, of course, very good for alts. Now, what we can see on the day is actually a generally green day going on here. We can see things like Zcash, Dash, CC, Monero, ICP. You'll see certain things like the privacy coins are retracing a little bit, and then ICP is as well. But this makes a lot of sense in my mind. We could see a super green week here, actually led by ICP, Filecoin, and a couple others here, looking really nice. So we also can see TAO actually red on the week, which is kind of surprising. If we do look at the month, though, it is one of the one of the several that is green on the month, which is good in a month where there is a lot of red going on. So still looking pretty decent here. I also do think, even though we have seen some red for ICP, things are still looking good for ICP, and I'm feeling pretty good about what we're seeing there. So moving along, we can see, of course, a good day in the market so far. Again, a lot of this coming from the news that the government might be reopening. This has been really damaging for altcoins. Primarily, I think it's just due to the liquidity shortages and also the fear that was starting to pervade the market going through, like, how long could this be? I mean, it was 40 days. This is the longest government shutdown ever in the US. And, finally it's coming out of it. But there was a point in time where I think fear was starting to circulate through the market on, will this ever end, right? And of course, when that type of fear comes to the market, it's usually irrational and generally provides decent buying opportunities, which we did do a decent bit of. You can see here, we have 4 trades in the green now. We do still have 2 Bitcoin trades in the red here. This is when we started our initial DCAs, when Bitcoin started to kind of pull back. We're just holding on to them. I don't really see any reason to be too hasty and get rid of them. We do have other Bitcoin trades that have actually flipped into the green now. So we can see here Doge up about 40%, looking pretty nice. We also are seeing Bitcoin up almost 50%, also looking pretty nice. Things looking good there. We're also seeing SUI come around up 30%. And then we are also seeing Bitcoin, another Bitcoin trade, up about 14% at the current point. So assuming we see crypto continue to kind of move along as it has been, and we start to see some pumps coming into the market, these could turn very lucrative. So just holding on them right now. We'll probably start to move some of these stop losses back to break even, just in case we do see a further turn in the market. We're going to be relatively protected here. So that is kind of my plan overall of what I'm looking to do. As you can see, I personally do trade on Weex. I do also have links in the description below for BTCC, Weex, and BloFin. BloFin is doing that limited time ICP referral offer. So if you are a big fan of ICP, of course, you can use that BloFin link. And then BTCC does actually have the best referral bonus, just if you're kind of agnostic to coin coins and want just particular or just like value overall, they are doing a 10% bonus on first time deposits. So those are really, really good deals. It's basically 10% free money. So I do have those affiliate links in the description below. If you are interested, feel free to check those out. Now, I did want to go through and kind of use the remaining time to do some quick analysis on some of the big coins that we like to follow on the channel here. So first off, we'll start with ICP. We've been doing basically ICP updates because things have gotten really, really wild for ICP. So I want to start there, and then we'll go through like ZBCN, Kaspa, TAO, AERO. Some of these I haven't actually covered in detail in a little while, and so I wanted to kind of throw them into the mix as well. So first off, we of course will see ICP. We're actually going to take a look here. We can see that we are currently seeing a little bit of a retrace going on. Now, I personally am not particularly concerned here. You can see on the daily, we've been pushing the top of the Bollinger Bands for a long while. We'd also seen the RSI was massively overextended. Every single time we see this happen, we do see this pullback come through basically every single time. So what I'm seeing here personally is not of anything of like super concern to me. I do think, you know, kind of the major thing that we want to see here, particularly as we go to, let's take a look at like let's look at the 4 hours. We could see a couple of different things. We'll actually reload here because it looks like TradingView did close the connection. But on ICP, we could see a couple of different things here. Now, first off, we are currently breaking below the $6.80 range. It ideally would be nice to hold above this level. If we don't, it's not the end of the world. What I would say personally is holding outside of this consolidationary kind of trend would be really good to see. Now, of course, there are some levels back here at kind of the mid $5 range. You can see there's kind of a level of support kind of in this level right here. This is something that is possible. We could dip back into this, maybe look for a bounce here. But if we do dip back into this zone of liquidity, we are going to have two relatively difficult levels of resistance to get out of again. So again, best case scenario would be we see this get bought up and held above the $6.80 range. If we don't, again, not the end of the world, but you know, kind of better case would be above 640. But I do think there is a world in which we come all the way back down to 550 and potentially even lower. So if we do see that, of course, you know, I will be looking to see, I will be looking to you know, potentially DCA into some of this as we see a good kind of reversal going here. Again, we're still from a macro level seeing a good trend coming. So if we see kind of a nice little textbook rejection off a key level of support and continue to make our way back up, I think we could go so much higher on ICP. So I still do feel pretty bullish here. Now, again, of course, you need to be making your own decisions, not financial advice, all of that type of good stuff. But I do feel pretty good about what we're seeing here with ICP. Now, next up, of course, we're going to have to reload here on ZBCN to refresh the connection. But you can see here on ZBCN a couple of different things. It's actually going to switch to ICP. So let's just reload ZBCN, and we'll just do this with the rest of them as well. But you'll see that ZBCN, we are currently above what I would call the orange line. Again, we were talking about in a previous video kind of some major things that we're looking to see here. We want to be above the green line. The green line is kind of the major level at which we are getting rejected. You'll see that we've been rejected multiple different times at this green line. So we want to continue to see, or we want to see price get above this green line. The orange line is what I would say is like slightly concerning. You know, if we fall below this level, things, you know, could get pretty bad. I mean, we do have some levels down even to like the 002 or 0023 range in which we could recover. But currently, you know, the yellow line is what I would consider the level of slight concern, and then the orange line, excuse me, and then the yellow line is what I would consider to be like a relatively good relatively good position for us to be in. Now, of course, like I said, we want to get above the green line because this means we will have broken a multi-months long descending trend here, and this could mean like some, you know, really, really good news in terms of a breakout for us for ZBCN. So that's what I'm going to be looking very, very closely at. Again, you'll see here kind of key levels of support and resistance. You'll see them over here on the right side of what exactly these levels are, but these are key levels of support and resistance that I am looking out for. Now, of course, on the RSI, we are starting to see it tick up a little bit, so that would be good again after a multi-months of descending. You'll even see something similar here on the RSI. We are continuing to see lower highs all the way through. So again, another thing that, you know, just to keep a very close eye on, and things that, you know, hopefully we could see that start to change as well for RSI also. Now let's go ahead, we'll move on to Kaspa. Kaspa is another that we are seeing potentially the bleeding start to stop, but still looking relatively rough. Kaspa, you will see, is in this descending channel after breaking out of this key level of consolidation. So not necessarily kind of the greatest of moves happening here on Kaspa. But again, as we talked about in our Kaspa video, I think it was about a week ago at this point, this is time for you to make a decision. This is very similar to kind of what we were seeing from ICP. If we go back to ICP, we had kind of this key level of support. It broke, we consolidated down in this range, and then you of course know what happened next. Could this same thing happen with Kaspa? Of course it could. Will it? Who knows? But that is what I'm looking at very, very closely with Kaspa, is we want to see, first off, supports continue to get held. We want to see some consolidation. And then again, we might be seeing a nice little bounce from Kaspa coming here soon as well. Again, no one knows for sure. I'm not guaranteeing this can happen. I'm not saying it's even possible. I am saying though that it could happen, because this is generally how things tend to work in crypto specifically, but it's just in all investing, right? I mean, there's generally a level of capitulation where everybody thinks, oh, it's so over, this project's dead, price goes down, that means bad project, which again, we all know, if you've been following this channel, is a silly notion, but that is another thing that you can see does happen a lot. And so we might be able to start to see a pop here, because with Kaspa, probably only the most hardcore and diehard supporters of Kaspa remain at this point. So that is what I'm going to be looking very, very closely toward as well. We're also going to be looking at TAO here. TAO's another one that's been looking very strong. Kaspa, we could say maybe he's looking slightly weak. TAO is looking very, very strong. So here we could see key levels here between kind of the 370 and let's call it the 350 range, holding up consistently for TAO over, let's call it, the past month or so. Things looking really, really good there. We did have this key level of resistance that got broken, and then it has been holding up fairly well as a support. So I personally am liking what we're seeing with TAO. I'm liking what we're seeing, what could come next. Again, of course, if we break through this level of support, that is going to be a slight concern. But you can see there is definite upward momentum here, and there is some appetite for TAO. So I'm looking very, very closely. I have been adding to my bags, and personally, again, if you're looking for more of like a swing trade, maybe short to mid-term type of time frame, this could be a good place to get in, because then you're setting your stop loss. Maybe let's call it at the 340 range. Then if it happens, you've kind of broken a structural level of support of what we'd been holding on to. Again, you do have to set it a ways off of kind of this, I would say, real level of support, just because these liquidity washes like to happen. So if you don't want to get caught up in one of those, you do have to go maybe farther than what you might be comfortable. Otherwise, just make sure that you have it there for safety, but you can also manage this so if it starts to look like we're bleeding down below this line, you can sell out before the stop loss is getting broken. Again, these are all just kind of strategies that I use. You can kind of decide if they work for you or not and make your own decision. Again, you need to understand what you're doing and what works for you in your own strategy before you just go kind of randomly buying and implementing things that you don't even know if they work for you yet. Now, finally, I want to talk about Aerodrum, because Aerodrum has been one that's been looking really, really good. Aerodrum, I continue to believe in very, very, very deeply. It is a rock solid pick in my opinion. And so I continue to watch it very closely. Now, again, if we go zoom out and kind of tell a longer term story here, you can see a really, really nice kind of consistent move to the upside here. Higher highs, higher lows. We did see a trend change where we saw lower highs and lower lows, and it appears that that trend has now changed again, continuing into higher highs, at least at this point, and higher lows so far. We have not seen a higher high quite yet. So, potentially, we're still looking at lower lows coming in, but we have in fact seen lower highs, we have in fact seen higher lows. So there is a little bit of indecision going on here on the Aerodrome chart. One thing you can see is that this level of support that we were using for several months as kind of the support level, we have seen turn into kind of a resistance level, being rejected once and then twice, and then now maybe a third time here. It's hard to say, or maybe we bounce off of it and see kind of a break and retest type of situation. Either is possible. We'll really have to see. This level of support here at the $1.03 range has really held up though. So lots going on here with Aerodrome, a little bit of indecision going on. We'll have to see. We did break above this kind of descending trend line though is pretty clear to see with that. So things looking, I would say, overall pretty good from AERO. Again, maybe we are looking to see that reversal coming on here. We just don't know for sure quite yet. I do think we're kind of in a bit of a wait and see time period for Aerodrome. So overall, that's a lot of what I'm looking at personally. I think we've got a lot of really interesting things going on within the crypto market. So I want to be keeping very close attention, particularly to alts, because we could be in a really fortunate and really favorable time of year for altcoins specifically, particularly with the government reopening and indications that rate cuts might be continuing. So overall, if you found the information in the video useful, of course, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you do stay notified with all the new videos that I release. And I do also really appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to drop any comments that you may have. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, whatever, just drop those in the comment section. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.